swore an oath beneath the Southern Cross. They'd stand together and break the license laws. From 20 different nations they gathered here as one in Ballarat beneath the southern sun.
We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world there's room for everyone and the good earth is rich.
Jack, could you just gather around for a minute? I just want to say something. This is apparently the original site of this Eureka stockade. But as you can see, it's not the stockade, and somebody has turned it into a Masonic monument.
A phallic symbol.
But you can see the date here is 3rd of December 1854. Well, on March 25, 1854 is when we sent the Constitution to England to be the state constitution, so it's the same year. You really need to understand that document. Not the 1855 one, but the 1854 one. The 1854 one that they had in the Parliament down here in Victoria, which was a colony then, that document was 71 clauses and a back page with 3 signatures on it. That's the one you sent to England. And it sat in England for almost a year. And then it came on the floor of the House of Commons at 10:30 at night on May 10, 1855. But by now it's 61 clauses and no signature page. That's your document. Do you have a problem?
Victorian Constitution.
Do you have a problem if that's the 2 documents?
The one in 1980.
The one that left here, same date as on that thing there, 1854. The one that left here on the 25th of March, 1854, was 71 clauses and a 3 signature back page. The one that got to the floor of the House of Commons was a 61 or 63 clause document, no signature page. A number of clauses have been removed. No, leave them down. Leave them, Jerry, for now. Leave them for now. Just leave them for a minute. A number of clauses were removed and the signature pages were removed. And from 1855 to 1975, that's what ran your state. What you call the amended Constitution. But what they did in 1855 on the floor of the House of Commons and the House of Reps, or the House of Lords, was because it was a constitution that had been amended, i.e. pages and clauses had been taken out, they had 2 options. Send it back to Victoria and do a new, or create a 3-page United Kingdom Act and attach the amended one to the back of that. Are you with me so far? Now I want to ask you a question. In 1975, when they gave you your new state constitution, they said that the Parliament of Victoria repealed the 1855 Act of the UK's Act. Now I want to ask you a question. 3 pages of that Act were the entire legal property of the UK Parliament. Can the Victorian Parliament repeal those 3 pages?
No.
Well, hello. Some of you got Melton Council things on in relation to Melton Council problem. But Melton Council gets its jurisdiction from the state constitution from memory under section 74 or thereabout. But if you've got a problem with that repeal of 75,
yes, my friend. How are you?
And the judicial system is saying it's not a problem, but you're the elector, and that's why we've come here. This is 1854, 3rd of December 1854, this shootout happened. Now Peter Laidlaw led that, and apparently in the shootout he got his arm, his arm was pretty badly wounded. But the authorities weren't able to find him because obviously everyone scattered when the shootouts were happening. You don't just stand up there and take the bullets.
Unless you're Irish.
And they actually, someone looked after him in Geelong. He got his arm amputated in Geelong. And then all of them, 8 of them, were placed on the charge of treason. Why? Because they removed their allegiance to the Crown and gave their allegiance to the flag, the Eureka flag. Can you bring that up here, please? Now, because they gave that allegiance to this flag, the Eureka flag, that's why they were charged for treason. Now, I want to ask you a question. When our authorities, or purported authorities, removed the oath of allegiance to the Crown, just recently in the last few years, is that the offence of treason?
Yes, obviously.
Then you need to understand your Form 60 in that question of what's happening with the Australian Electoral Commission officers. So it's your divisional returning officers, and in Victoria there's 38 of them. You only have to make the 38 of them aware, and then the 6 senators aware between here and Tuesday. That's no big drama. Some of you are electronically able to do all this, so that the whole issue is, the intention here is to say you are not able to hold that election on September 7 because the Crown has been removed without the referendum. That's it. That then activates a criminal charge of treason, which is in section 44, subsection 2, attainted of treason. So you're on good ground. Now, treason is, in law, common law, statute law, breach of allegiance. That's what Peter Laylaw and the other boys were all charged on. Now, Peter Laylaw, because he'd had his arm shut off, he couldn't go back and be a miner up here, so he became a state politician in the colony of Victoria. And that's why we came here, because we came from Werribee, which is Peter Laylaw's federal seat today. That was obviously his state seat under the colony. And that's why the Laylaw seat, Werribee-Wyndham, is called the Laylaw seat. It's Peter Laylaw, right from here. Now, I don't know if this is the original spot of where the shootout is, or whether they just stuck the monument here, but you can see that they've radically changed the makeup of it. Clearly, Peter Laylaw didn't take a stand for Freemasonry. That's what all this is now. He took a stand against government oppression. Now, what they did, and it's only when you go to Sovereign Hill and watch some of the troopers do the demonstration, one particular 11 o'clock, the one at 3 o'clock is a bit of a dodo, but the 11 o'clock one really gets into it. Apparently, when they got the troopers here to look after the licences, they were all racking off and going on the goldfields to look for gold themselves, so they couldn't keep the troopers here. So what they did is they went down to Tasmania, which was the prisoner colony at the time, and said to the convicts down there, if you come to Ballarat, we'll give you 20 quid a year and we'll pardon your sentence, as long as you stay as a trooper. Otherwise you go back to Tasmania. So in essence, the troopers were the criminals from Tasmania. You see their problem. And if you were caught without a licence, it was a £5 fine, split between the trooper who caught you and the commissioner. So they all got pretty busy. They got their 20 quid a year, plus they got all the half of each fine they got. If you were caught with alcohol, and clearly they would have planted it, that was 20 quid a fine, 25 quid fine, 12.5 quid to the trooper that caught you, and 12.5 quid. So a whole lot of stuff was going on up here. And that's what they rebelled against, was you are using convicts to police us. Got it? And it was only when I saw that Sovereign Hill demonstration by the trooper that I understood that. Because he really gets into it. He's like, he's living it. This guy is fair dinkum. He's not acting his part. But he gives you the reality that these guys were up here digging gold. They were being policed by criminals from Tasmania who knew we're going to get 20 quid a year, but we're going to get a hell of a lot more if we can catch them all in illegal activity. And they would have created a lot of that. But that's the background of this stockade. Now, the point of why we came here out of Werribee is just to make a statement that this was the first side of the first treason trial that I know of within Australia. But out of Werribee and combined with Ballarat, there's going to be a second treason trial.
first time the people stood up to government
And
as well.
what you have to do is understand how to make that trial activate. And you don't do it by just making a rabble of noise. It's got to be done in a structured process of how you're going to make this government accountable. Now let me define what the government is. Because everyone seems to have lost the plot with that. The elector is the government. At this point of time, September 7 has to happen for them to form a government. So we got from here to Saturday to say anything you'll be doing will be illegal, and even the way the federal court is conducting the paperwork for the injunction against this election is illegal, because when you muck around with legal process, that activates the criminal trial of attempting to pervert the course of justice. So that activates when what you call legal process is interfered with. So Bob, yesterday, he just went to the counter and lodged his documents, no big drama, no fuss, no flags, no whistle blowing, no one getting dragged out by coppers. He's gone in and calmly lodged his papers. Now there's a difference between lodged and filed. What they should have done with Bob's papers is taken them off Bob, stamped it and gave him a court date and asked for the fee. Now by taking it off him without any of that, that's clearly a sign that they're going to give it back to Bob. But the problem with that is it's already a media piece of document by a lot of people who have actually checked Brian Shaw and said, well, we don't take any notice of that bloke because he's a vexatious litigant.
Thank you.
But the problem is, being a vexatious litigant in Victoria, that's state jurisdiction. I'm not a vexatious litigant in federal. That would need an application by the Federal Attorney General, and we ain't got one at the moment. Fair?
Yeah.
So there's a magnificent opportunity here, and you've got 7 days to do it. And I can tell you, because I'm a Christian, a lot happens in 7 days. If you look at the book of Genesis. If you got my drift.
Brian, I've got a question.
Day wasn't 24 hours back then.
I've got a question. I like it this to, there's a thief and comes and steals all your property. And you walk up to him and say, you've stolen all my stuff out of my house. And he says, no, I didn't. So you go away and you get evidence. And you bring the evidence before him. And it's 100% proof that he stole everything. But meanwhile, he comes back with his Hell's Angels motorbike friends and says, oh, actually, look, it was me. Now, what are you going to do about it? Right? We're in a situation now that we can prove 100% that the government's a thief. They're not standing illegal by deciding the Constitution. Right? They taking the documents, they denied the fact, and now they're going to say, oh, look, guys, yeah, we did do it, but you know what? What are you guys going to do about it? Fair enough. Yeah, stick it up your backside. We'll get the sheriff, we'll get the cops, we'll get the army, right? And we'll bomb the shit out of you.
Now, in answer to your question, here's my question, in answer to Andrew's question.
The Constitution of Victoria doesn't obligate the Victorian government to be a good and responsible government. There's no clause in the Constitution where you ask the government to be good, to make laws of peace, order and good government of the people of Victoria. They are not obligated in any way whatsoever.
The Victorian Constitution.
We're talking the Victorian Constitution.
No, he's talking those specific words, which is in section 51 of the Commonwealth Constitution.
The Commonwealth, we're talking about laws made by Victoria for Victoria.
Now let me give you an answer to that. First to Andrew's issue and then to your issue. Number one, Jerry has lodged a writ at the federal court, so has Bob Jane and so have I. Our two have already come back to us already, but without any authenticated order. Here comes my... If you don't want to lodge a writ, you're really not fair income. This is what I'm saying. Now, I'm not saying the federal court can deal with it. I'm actually saying they're already telling you that we're going to send them back. But while you've got it there, there's no fee, good time to go, no cost order, you're sending them back. But you've got a document that can go public. Got it? So it's a perfect time to lodge because they're not going to deal with it. But in not dealing with it, that document becomes public. Now, in answer to your question, this is now with the state of Victoria.
Right.
Who issues the writ for the senators of Victoria?
The governor.
Under what section of the Constitution?
Victorian Constitution?
No.
Well, that's a different.
The point I'm making. So that's your link between the Victorian Constitution and the Commonwealth Constitution is who issues the writ for the senators of Victoria? Senators sit in the Commonwealth Parliament. They look after us, purportedly. I'll ask this young budding journo over here. Who issues the writ for the senators of Victoria under what section of the Commonwealth Parliament Constitution? I'll give you the answer. So they'll be wrong. It's section 12.
Section 12.
Write it in your book. Now, why is that relevant? Because if the governor, now the governor of West Australia threw Her Majesty out and substituted himself. All the documents going into the federal court clearly prove that. And then we have researchers who then say, oh, the Queen's still in West Australia. Well, those researchers better go down and issue a writ and stop researching. It's as simple as that. Because the moment you attack that allegiance, you've got a big problem in federation, right across the board. Because when the governor of West Australia threw Her Majesty out and then substituted himself, did he commit an act of treason?
Yes.
But then the governor of Victoria then issues a writ for the senators of Victoria agreeing with the West Australian one. Did he commit an act of treason?
Yes.
Well, you're the jury because you're the voters. And all you have to do is come away from today with conclusions to your questions so you have definite things to do without it becoming revolutionary or radical. That won't work because that's what the government want. That's what happened here. So that when this stockade happened, there were 700 miners signed up that all burnt their licences. They all did drills, whether they did it around here or whatever. Some of them were military, so they all did drills.
Ryan, don't tell them about the civil disobedience. The police have been trained for it now.
Bob has just made a mention that the police are trained to deal with civil disobedience. Now, we don't have to look any further than Sam to know the victim.
Mountain council, exactly.
They're not trained very well then, are they?
Yeah, and they stuffed up completely.
No, we're only talking about they want that.
They lost control, mate.
So
Taking
if you don't
defenceless
do that,
women.
And I'm saying here as a Christian, the scripture says, blessed are the peacemakers. And in doing that, you'll have an unction from God. And these doors will open. But any other way won't work. You'll have a lot of oppression and a lot of difficulty. But in the interim, come away with conclusions of your section. Who's got a little book?
Again.
Bring it, please. Here's the book. And I'm amazed with how many people don't have this book. But guess what happens when you open it? The suckers have got copyright on it.
Cool.
Hey, excuse me, they're actually saying in the copyright, no section can be reproduced without written consent of the Australian Government Solicitor's Office.
Well, who runs the country then?
Hey, hang on a minute. That's not for me to determine right here, but I'm actually saying, what section of law is copyright in this? Is that a reasonable question?
We say that.
It's section 51, and there's 39 subsections in 51. One of those is copyright. Here comes your problem. With the Crown removed without the referendum, what happens to the copyright section? So you're the elector, you're the jury, you're the voter. You are on grand jury, you are on ordinary duty, you are on a vote. They can't do this on September 7 if you've got legal stoppers in position. What's your legal stoppers? 6 senators in Victoria. Now, under section 12 of this book, it says this. Issue of writs, section 12. This going back to your question. How do you link the Victorian Constitution to the Federal Constitution? Well, first off, it links at section 106.
They failed to do.
No, they didn't fail to do it. We failed to make them accountable to keep it.
That's right.
We have failed to make them accountable. Bob wants to say something.
If we don't vote, they fine us.
Correct, $80.
So we've got a responsibility to vote. So it proves our responsibility.
I want you to allow Sonia to, she's got a comment to make. I don't know whether the people are aware of it. No, hang on, come up here.
Hang on, wait a minute. Let Bob finish his.
No, I'm just saying.
Stand up there.
No, that's a good spot. Right there, otherwise
You can't hear here.
Well, the Constitution...
Do you want to get up there? He's saying get right up there near that Masonic goes.
One until Bob finishes.
So Sonia, yeah, that's all he's going to do. Sonia, I want, hang on. I want you to tell the people what they're doing with the children and how they're educating them. After Bob finishes what he's saying.
No, I'm just saying, guys, that we've got a lawful obligation to vote, so they say, and I think, and I'll find if we don't now. As an elector, we are really the government of Australia, as proved by this very place here. So, all I'm saying is Brian is absolutely right. We should email all the senators on Monday, shouldn't we?
Correct.
Absolutely.
Every one of them, not just the 6.
Exactly.
Should we have a little draft?
Please,
copy?
don't put it all back to us. All of you have got computers, most of you have got laptops, and some of you even...
Gerard, you've already written one up, haven't you? That fraudulent one?
So what I'm saying is...
The Attorney General one?
This is a team effort. So don't rely on somebody and say, where's my documents, and why haven't you done this, and why haven't you done that? This is like a football team. If you're playing centre back and you're not getting that stopper, we're taking you out of the game and putting you on the bench. It's a team effort.
A team effort, but you got to have the goal there. I mean,
well, the goal is quite simple.
We all need position.
Is email the best, or should we go in person?
Wait.
Or shall we go in offices
The game
personally?
plan is this. Legally stop the election.
Yes.
How do you do that? Now, Section 12 is their Achilles heel. Anyone got that Form 60 still with them, or is it in the car? Yeah, I put them in my car.
Oh, well done.
You've still got a Form 60, journo lady? Sorry.
Journo
Bob,
lady.
your granddaughter.
Lucy.
Where's your Form 60? Don't worry. Okay, here's the deal. Get your Form 60s from the Australian Electoral Commission website. Now, if you can't get them, we'll probably put them on a website that we'll let you know about. Can we make it whose website?
Put them on all fours.
No, too much on Andrula. She's already got a big workload.
What do you need? Nothing more than an A4 would be.
No, wait a minute.
I can put it on the My Will
No, we're
website.
not going down your road, Sam.
No, you haven't seen My Will website. It's
Divvy bag.
got lots of stuff on it, mate.
We can try and make it.
Now, we only need to have a Form 60. So
Yeah, I'll get it up on My Will, don't worry.
On the back page, or the other side, there's a question. The question is, are you qualified or disqualified under Section 44? Here comes my question.
I can do it right
Section
now if you want.
44.
I'll give my mate a ring.
With the Crown removed without the referendum, who is qualified? That's the question, that's the issue. So you're going to jam them up on their Form 60. Now in Victoria, you have 38 divisional returning officers. We can handle all of them electronically. That makes the divisional returning officer have knowledge of the offence, because it's been that divisional returning officer that actually accepts everyone's form. Now when you give them a form, let's say I'm a nominated candidate, either for the Senate or for the House of Reps, there's another form. And that other form has to have and be signed by 100 electors that nominate you. Here comes your problem. Did you tell the 100 electors that signed your form that the Crown is removed without the referendum? So I've caught you by not telling them, and I've caught you by the returning divisional officer, and we've caught you as the Australian Electoral Commission Corporation, and we've caught the Commissioner. In what offence? Beg your pardon?
Treason.
No, it's not misprision of treason at this level, it's treason straight up. Misprision of treason is the concealment of it, but they're actually committing it. But how would you get common sense in that if you got an indictment on all of them? You'll wreck your structure. Here's the issue. You're all forgiven. That's Christianity.
Oh, here we go. And
But it's a trial of the issue in that issue. You follow? Yeah. So by granting that, a trial of the issue with all the defendants sitting sine die, they have to hear the trial. Because they already know they're going to get forgiven if they permit the trial. Is that fair? Because if you don't do that, put your hand down for a minute, Sam.
Yeah, I know.
If you don't do that, you're going to create legal chaos. And that's exactly what the Masonic Lodge who put this sucker here wants. Because if you go to their library in Albert Street in East Melbourne, you'll find Albert Pike's book, and one of the headers of his book is Order Out of Chaos. You have to create the chaos to get the order, but that will be Masonic order. You've already got a Masonic government. That's what happened when this crown went out and another one came in. So now we come to the Christian churches. Every Christian church, it gets a tax benefit. Is that fair comment?
Might be fair comment, it's not fair.
No, fair comment.
It's true, yeah.
But does that make them joint partners with the government?
Yes.
Oh, hardly.
Does that make them committing the offence of fraud?
Yep.
Well, anyone been to the Christian church? Because you're all going to go to the senators and the House of Reps and the divisional returning officers, but just when we turn into this street, there's the Salvation Army on the corner. So you only have to go to the key players. Now in Werribee, you have the Wyndham Ministers Network, 28 pastors control Werribee. And I use that word explicitly, control. Because they have not told the people sitting in their churches who will vote next Saturday, the crown's been removed without the referendum, because we're not going to tell you that because we're running a business here.
How many people do know the crown's been removed?
A fair whack.
Yeah, but not many. I mean, we're
No,
going
it's not relevant to many. What is relevant is key players, key people have already been presented to the Magistrates Court in Melbourne, and that's been at least 70 of them. So, in fact, the Magistrates Court office boss dragged me into the office years ago, and he asked me this. He said, "You're charging some pretty important people in this country," meaning, "What the hell are you doing, boy?" That's what he was saying.
Yeah.
My answer to him was this: I'm not charging pretty important people, I'm charging criminals involved in criminal activity. Now the reason I'm saying that is because they all know the law. If you lay a criminal charge and it's false, you can be charged for laying the false charge, go in front of a jury. If the jury says that charge was false, you should not have laid it, it's a 10-year jail sentence. Now I've got 54 charged, which means 540 years for me. I don't think I'll last that sentence. But I said to that bloke that day, I said, they all know the deal. If my charge is false, charge me.
Exactly.
The only thing they could do is go into civil and make me a vexatious litigant. But who did that? Rob Holes, the Attorney General for Victoria. But he did it because he had already been charged himself for all of this, and every other Attorney General in the country. So the point I'm making here is Section 12 is their Achilles heel. Every senator, and you've got 6 in Victoria currently sitting, you've got another 6, that makes 12, who are going to nominate. But the senators are elected by a writ from the governor. Who is the governor in Victoria? Alec Chernoff is the governor. He has already been charged pending a grand jury, so he should never have been elevated into the role of the governor. But in that capacity, is his writ valid?
No.
Because you're the jury, and that's all I have to ask you. Is his writ valid? If his writ is not valid, is he committing an offence of treason?
Yes.
And we're doing it right here now, because what's happening here will go right across Australia. Do not think it's somebody said to me the other day, I think that walking up the street's a wasted space. I'll guarantee you it's not, because you would have no idea of how many people are watching you.
Can I just say New Zealand and Ireland is watching you as well?
They are watching you to see
They're doing it over in Ireland,
now,
actually.
you've got two ways to do it. You can do it revolutionary, or you can do it peacefully, by correct process. Section 12 of this book is their Achilles heel. Section 44 in the Form 60 is their Achilles heel. And you can open up a number of Achilles heels. All you have to do is find the access point. And at that point you're working okay. Now we'll do a fair whack of work this week, legal and whatever, but respectfully, that's a share the load issue. It's a share the load issue because you end up running out of paper, you end up running out of fuel, you end up running out of what the hell's the point, if you know what I mean.
Carpool. What they want from you.
Correct.
Carpool.
But we'll see who's in this stoush. Now when we went here, when this form, 700 signed up to be in this stockade. At the day of the impact, and they all knew the impact date, how many were in the stockade? 140.
Yeah.
Where'd the other suckers go?
Yeah, exactly.
They all had to go and catch a rabbit that day. What a heap of junk. If that's the case, they shouldn't have signed up. Because to sign up, they had to burn their miner's licence. So they already had committed an offence because they're now running around without licence.
Yep.
So that'll be £5 for the trooper. The trooper would have loved that. Multiply that by all the ones who didn't come. But...
well, that's coming in the future anyway.
No.
Yeah,
we're here to stop this.
Hey? Well, I hope so.
Brian, just one question. You've given them an amnesty. You've asked them nicely. Well, you've asked them nicely to, you know, do what they've got to do. Who actually governs the country? Do we actually leave them in power while this is all going on, or do you remove them completely?
The lawyers run
This
the
is what
country,
people are trying to understand. Who will be running the country if we go ahead and do this?
Well, hang on a minute. Right now, who is running your country?
Yeah, okay, I know. The criminals, mate, the criminals.
No.
The lawyers.
Because they're not proven yet. Yeah, I know, they're not proven yet. But we're going to call them criminals anyway, all right? Yes, we are.
Sam, stop, or we'll get that gaffer tape out right in a minute.
All right, well,
6 strips.
they're not criminals.
Yeah,
okay,
stop.
fine.
But that's due process.
Yes.
But here comes the issue.
Yeah.
You have 7 ministers of state who run the government. It's another section here. So they are already there. The government functions. And you have half of your Senate still there. They can't make legislation, but they can run the government. So that's getting taken care of. As in the traffic lights will come on, the toilets will flush and all the rest of the stuff. What the issue is September 7 election valid or invalid? That is the issue. Now we don't have to determine, we just have to do a whole lot of legal work this week.
We've had a template. I mean,
people love templates.
Yeah, I mean, I can type it
plenty of people
out.
who volunteered to do templates. They're long gone.
Well, they only take 2 paragraphs.
Okay.
Wait a minute, I'm pretty sure
Sonia, you wanted to say something?
Gerard's got something up there.
Yes.
Sleep.
They call them planners or psychology planners. They are employed usually in Melbourne University, and they have a job to make a propaganda. They've been ordered to create a nice
No, it doesn't matter by you.
and the propaganda will be to actually teach openly precise what is programmed. Our children, that's a yes, 8, year 9, year 10, year 11 and 12, that we are all illusions. And whatever we own, it's illusion. I mean, well, what that means? Well, if we don't have to fight for anything, we don't have to protest for anything, and so on. Just illusions. And that will be a future propaganda.
Yeah.
See, they are infiltrating our children and grandchildren against us. That's what I'm saying. Well, many of you people, when you're reading a Victorian Constitution, you will see it, the bill on top of it, 3 or 4 pages. It's usually a bill of good governance. Bill means nothing. It's another act. You can use it in a toilet. The same thing, the size is Charter of Rights. Charter of Rights, as Victorian Charter of Rights. Oh, you don't have a human rights, but you have a Charter of Rights. That charter, you can't even use in court, because if you use that in court, you are contempt of court. In other words, you can use it only in toilet. Right? That's what I'm trying to say. And you have to separate those things, because usually so-called those bills, they put three in the local government act. You have 144 pages of so-called good governing bill, which means nothing. But you start to read after 144 ways of acts where they ain't going to shoot you and rob you, and that's a different story. That's what I'm trying to say. You have to separate those things.
Just a quick one, right? And Drella asked me to ask you people on Monday, if you would, you need to start a workshop on Monday, and not Monday after this Monday, Get the documents in place, make sure they're right, put them in and get it rolling. I was at a QC and informed me that the government had put in place for the Chinese to come and buy our farming land. And the reason they're going to do, hang on, hey. What they're going to do is buy our farming land so they control the food. If they control the food, they're going to control you, and that's what's happened. They've already bought 174,000 of pastoral land in South Australia. They're growing every day. They've bought Queensland, 400,000 pastoral land. They're buying it up every day, and it was in China when the comment was made. And they also have they have a thing put together with the real estate companies to go to China to implement it, get the Chinese over here to buy the land off the real estate companies. And that's happening at the end of this month.
Well, we have rain and we won't have that for long.
Now, hang on, man, let's stop there for now. Now, what we're going to do now is, there's some toilets over there if you want a toilet break before we leave the park. But from here we'll make our way back into Sturt Street, which is the main drag. We'll go up Sturt Street for a bit, and then where there's some public toilets on the left, it's Albert Street. We'll swing into there because it's off the main drag, go down there a little bit and park your vehicles, and then we'll come back into Sturt Street for a quarter of an hour, just so you can hand out your pamphlets and whatever. And then we'll pick up the vehicles again and just come back down. We'll go right up Sturt Street with the vehicles and come back down. We'll leave here, go up Sturt Street, swing left into Albert Street and park the vehicles there.
Bullshit. Over here, fellas.
There's the other thing you can do.
Francesco Velasco from Italy. Oh, yeah. Wish it.
Stop being scared. Stand up and do what's necessary. Take back. Stop these bankers, these elites, this government.
Failure is not an option.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
And it's all for your glory, Almighty God, in every way. You are above and beyond understanding.
Because while the truncheon may be used in lieu of conversation, words will always retain their power. Words offer the means to meaning, and for those who will listen, the enunciation of truth. And the truth is, there is something terribly wrong with this country, isn't there?